step. That's part of my job. Now, I've got two options when I step in it. Do I sit down and grab a stick and start poking at it? If I do that, chances of me getting it all over myself are pretty high. But if I stay the course and I keep working and I keep walking, guess what? I walk out of it. So when we step out in these great faith moves, and we step out and we do things that we've never done before, and we fail, because we're going to, is our job to sit down and poke at it with a stick and try to figure out where we went wrong? Or is our job to go, you know what, that was tough, and you keep going? And so that's it. Guys, we're gonna make mistakes. We're gonna fail from time to time. But Jesus is not concerned about that, as long as when we fail, we ask ourselves how we can do it better next time. Are we gonna move forward, or are we gonna move back? Are we gonna examine the poo, or are we just gonna walk away from it? And my suggestion is we just keep walking. So in that, what is faith promise, and what is a faith pledge? Because that's a big part of what we're talking about today, because when we talk about mission, we have to also acknowledge that not everyone is called, equipped, or gifted for every mission that's out there. You know, I can be completely honest with you. If you had told me, Rodney was my roommate in college, if you had told Rodney when we were 19, 20, 21 years old that I would be a pastor, we weren't going to believe you. We'd have had some choice words for you. But somewhere through time, God transformed that, and I was called to be a pastor. Now, I look around this room and I go, I don't know what your future is. I don't know what God is calling you to do. But most of you probably don't have that call. And I'm not saying that to belittle you or to degrade you or anything like that. I'm just saying that because God doesn't give everybody that call. And in my years of ministry, I've watched several people try it that weren't given the call. And burnout rate happens in about 16 months for a person who is not called to be a pastor. Why is that? Because it's so hard? No, because you're not made for it. You know, there are other people who are called to different things. You know, I look around at the folks that are up here, Brother Tim and Brother Brian and Lee and the folks who are up here playing instruments. You know, there's probably a few other you in the congregation who are called to be doing that, but you're not doing that. That's okay. There's also a lot of people in this room who aren't called to do that. That's okay. You know, there are a lot of things to be done here around this body of believers. There's a lot of things to be done around the world, and not everybody is called to do all of those things. In fact, Jesus, when he's talking, or when Paul is talking to the church in Corinth, he begins to talk about it like this. He says, some are called to be eyes, some are called to be ears. But your foot can't look and go, well, I wish I was an eye, because it'd look really weird walking around on your eye. And you wouldn't see a whole lot if you're down in the dirt. And so there's a purpose for each of us. And so when we talk about faith promise and we talk about faith pledges, what we're talking about is the fact that you and I aren't all called to go take the gospel of Jesus Christ to Bolivia or to the Middle East. But we partner with people who are. And so how do we partner with them? We partner with them in prayer, but we also partner with them financially. Because like I mentioned earlier, it takes a lot of congregations to be able to send one missionary overseas. And so what is a faith pledge? What is a faith promise? All right? A faith pledge, Brother Ray talked about this very well a while ago. He said some people, they just look at life and they go, okay, I know God is going to bless me, and so I'm going to automatically set aside, above and beyond my regular tithe, I'm going to set aside X number of dollars a week or a month that's just going to go straight to missions. And I know God's going to replace that. And then there's others who are more like me that are going, all right, I live pretty much paycheck to paycheck. I don't know that I can just set it out there that, hey, I'm going to give an extra, $50 a week or $100 a month or whatever that is, whatever God lays on your heart to do. But I'm going to promise, that's the faith promise, I'm going to promise to have faith that over the next 6 months, between now and the end of October, that God's going to give me something. And I'm going to pray for a number, whatever that number may be. You know, if it's $500, if it's $100, if it's $25, but what's going to happen is that's my promise. And my faith is that I am going to keep an eye out between now and October 31st. And if God gives me some kind of money into my hands that I didn't expect and I hadn't banked on, and it has not been a part of me needing to get by for day-to-day life, I'm going to turn around and give that straight to the church for the missionaries that are functioning overseas. Now, let me give you an example of that. All right? Thursday, I'm talking to Miss Dana here in the office, and we're talking about planning today and tonight with Faith Promise. And in the middle of that, I stop and I run out to the mailbox, and I go out there, and there's a card in the mailbox. I open it up. There is absolutely nothing written on it. I do not know the name on the check, but there is a check for $1,000 written to our church. I don't know. Kenny, did you budget that $1,000? Did we know that was coming? We had no idea. We don't even know the person. I did some calling around. I figured out who it was. I found out this person hasn't been to church in 30 years, but because of how they've seen this congregation love on someone that they love, they chose to give a $1,000 gift to the church. We can't plan for that. That's beautiful. That's awesome, but we can't plan for that. So we talked and made the choice that is the first $1,000 that goes into our faith promise. It's not part of our lives. It wasn't something we banked on. And so that's what we did. That was our faith promise. We promised God that whatever comes first, we're going to give it to him. Whatever comes that's not expected, we're just going to give it to him. And then in faith, a check showed up. You know, I've been a part of Faith Promises for almost 25 years now, and in that, I have seen things like people get insurance refunds. Insurance money, insurance companies don't send people any money ever. They fight it. But I've seen people get big returns from the insurance company over an overpayment that they swore was not overpaid, and they turned around and wrote that check to the church. You know, I've seen people, I had a friend one time who was launching a business, and he says, I don't have any idea what God's going to do with this, but I'm feeling called to give this super high number and just see if God delivers on this contract, on this new business that I started. And sure enough, God delivered. And so there was his promise. There was his faith. And so when we talk about that, that's what I want you to be praying about. That's what I want you to understand. And this isn't about giving money to the church. This money doesn't go into the pot to pay the light bills or my salary at all. This money is put into a special fund that is used to support ministries locally and around the world. When we go to Grace Place 4 times a year, where do you think the money comes from that buys the food? Our faith promise. When we go to Mercy Multiplied banquets, and we sponsor banquets for them and different things like that, so that helps them, so that their big banquets, they don't have to pay money out in order to make money for the girls. They just don't even have to spend that. Where does that money come from? It comes from Faith Promise. When we do the same thing for Life Choices, it comes from Faith Promise. When we support the people around the world or next door, it comes out of Faith Promise. And so that's what we're asking. That's what we're asking. This isn't money that's going to bring anything here. This is money that's going to go out to support people out there. And so as I close today, this is kind of my final question to you. How will you partner with God on the mission? And this is more than just a conversation about Faith Promise. This question is bigger than that. This question is asking, when you walk out these doors today, what is the mission that God has planted before you? What are the people that he has placed in your life? Probably there's 1 or 2 people you can think of who desperately need hope in their lives. If that's the case, guess what? That might just be your mission. Pray about that. Seek God's guidance on that. See if that's what it is. But as far as the Faith Promise goes, I want you to be praying about that as well. And we've got these cards. They're in your bulletin today. You can drop them in the offering plate that's at the back of the sanctuary today. We would love to have you back tonight. I would love for all of you to be able to be back here tonight at 5:30 to have a great meal and then to get to meet and be around our missionaries and just ask questions. I'm going to be talking to them about a possibility of asking 3 or 4 of you guys to go to South America with me in the next couple of years. Who would be up for a trip to South America? I got a couple hands, 6 hands, 12 hands. All right. So I don't know if they can house 12 people at one time. We might have to make multiple trips. But I'm going to be talking to them about that. How can our church go on an international mission trip? We have helped people go. My mom has been to Haiti, 28 times or something like that now? 8 times? 7 times? And we have helped her as a congregation. We've helped her go. And there have been others that go. How cool would it be if we went to see the missionaries that we as a congregation support? That's on my agenda. And so I throw all of that at you just to ask you, how will you partner with God? He's already started the mission. All you got to do is grab his hand and go. And so we're gonna take a moment, and I'm gonna close this in prayer. Brother Kenny's gonna come up and he's gonna talk to you a little bit logistics about tonight and that kind of stuff. But the other thing, and Brother Scott, there he is. He mentioned this earlier. Something else I'd love to get from you in the next couple of weeks. Just ask it. We all have questions about the Bible, about Jesus, about the Christian world and life today. Between Easter and Mother's Day, and maybe a little bit outside of that, I'm going to try to answer a few questions that are pressing, and I want to know what you're asking. And so if you would fill it, don't just write one word, because I don't know what one word means. Give me enough of an understanding of what you're asking, but I want to take during Sunday mornings and be able to approach some of those conversations, some of those topics, because in my years of speaking and being a pastor, one of the things I've learned is the main reason people don't talk to their friends and family members about their faith is because they feel uneducated. And they're afraid that they will ask this question that I won't have any kind of answer to. And that stops them from sharing. And so if there's a question, if there is this question in your life, I'd love for you to write it down. I may not get to all of them this year, but we're going to do this again at some point in time. And so, and if you ask a question that I go, I can't answer that, I'll be honest about that and tell you that I'm still praying about that. And when I have it, I'll come to you and I'll talk to you about it. But we'll also make it part of the sermon series as well at some point in time. Let us pray. Father, I thank you for this congregation. I thank you for these people who are so passionate about you. God, I just pray that as we look for your direction and your guidance, that you will help us to know how we can partner, how we can go where your Spirit is already leading, how we can engage people that you're already talking to. Father, how can we further the kingdom one person at a time, one soul at a time? Father, I pray that as we prepare for tonight, that you'll be with the Joneses as they're traveling here to see us tonight, that you will be with us in our meeting tonight as we hear more about their mission, as we see slides about their world and their life and their ministry, God. And then I just also pray that for those who can't come tonight, who are unable, that you will continue to minister to them and walk with them and help them to answer these big life questions as they go. God, we are so grateful for all that you've given us. We are grateful for all that we have. Help us to be content in those things. Not to seek for more of this world, but to seek for more of you. We ask all of this in the name of Christ. Amen. Brother Kenny.
I'm going to apologize right up front, but I got a lot to share this morning, unfortunately. As many of you know, Kirsty Donaldson passed away, and we've had this back on the table for several weeks now. And the memorial service will be at the end of March, March 30th. And if you would like to, if you have a picture at home from when they pastored here, if you have a note that you'd just like to write and send, they're asking for pictures and notes. And if you'll bring it to the church next week, Sister Dana is going to take it upon herself to send those to Brother Donaldson, and so he'll have them, and they can be used or shared at the memorial service. So a picture or a note, a card, whatever you'd like to do, and if you'll bring it next Sunday, we'll get those shipped out. For those of you who may not have that time to do that, this will be back on the table again. There is an email address on here. If you wanted to send Brother Cliff just an email, you could do that. But if you would do the other, Sister Dana will get those in the mail Monday week. Also, too, just a lot going on. As y'all know, tonight we have our missions emphasis and our missions banquet. The date and the time has been at 6 o'clock, and that's been announced for quite a while. We made a decision this week to start the meal at 5:30. So the meal will be from 5:30 to about 6:15, and then we'll have our program. We're going to meet in here and eat in here. So at some time after church or before the meeting tonight, some of you, if you can, help set some tables up. We're going to have not really a banquet, but just set tables out, and we'll be facing here. I think there's some video to show and some other things that will be tonight, and we'll have our meal in here tonight from 5:30 till about 6:15. Shortly after 6:15, we'll get the program started. So if you can't make it at 5:30, you be here. It's food to be here. We're going to have fried chicken, baked chicken, potatoes, green beans, corn, bread. And if you bring desserts and drinks, we're going to have drinks and dessert. If you don't bring drinks and dessert, then we're not going to have anything to drink, and we won't have any desserts. So we're going to furnish the food, and you furnish the drinks and the dessert, and that starts at 5:30 tonight. Also, too, just a note, there is a note on here, but I want to thank all of you who participated in bringing things for Grace Place and for Life Choices. And Dana delivered those this past week to those places. They're very appreciative. Don't stop there. If you find something or have the opportunity to buy some things, bring them here to the church. We'll gather them together, and we'll deliver them to those organizations or other organizations as needs arise, and we're made aware of things. We also have a lot going on. This week, the ladies will have their meeting here on March the 14th. Hey, it's pretty interesting. If you kind of put your finger over this second line, the Women's Ministry March is going to be here. So instead of ministry march meeting. So they're going to have a ministry march instead of a meeting. So anyway, that'll be here at the church from 6 o'clock till 8 o'clock. If you are planning on attending and you have a child, please let Sister Dana know so she can make sure we have appropriate people here to take care of the number of kids for child care for that Thursday night at 6 o'clock. Also, too, we have youth retreat coming up on March the 29th and 30th. Restoration is $30. I think Brian and Leslie are going to go as counselors for that. So if you are interested in your child going, your teenager going for youth convention, please see Pastor Trey or Brian or Leslie, and we'll make sure we get that taken care of. In your bulletin, you'll see some upcoming event dates on the back. Those are some important dates. We have on the 18th through the 22nd, there are opportunities at Camp Pollock to do work around the campgrounds, and also state meetings will be taking place during that week period. Pastor Trey will be down there for meetings during the week. Pastor Ray will be down there on the 18th and 19th, actually for work days. If any of you would like to go and participate, I know that's a Monday and a Tuesday, but if you're off work or are not working and you want to go down, just let Pastor Ray know, and he can kind of let you know what all is going to be done during that time. There is plenty to do. And we're also going to have another day at some point in time to go back down there as a church group to work on the cabin that we sponsor. We haven't set a date for that, I don't believe yet, but that'll be coming up soon too. Also, too, can one of you help me? What day? We had 3 dates that we're going to have put aside for work days here at the church. So we'll have sign-up sheets for or sheets out starting maybe next week of things that need to be done around the church and outside the church. Part of this is in preparation of just doing our annual spring cleaning. The other part is to get the church presentable and looking great for Palm Sunday when we'll have our Easter egg hunt and hopefully invite a lot of guests here for there. So we got a lot going on in the next few weeks and a lot of things taking place. But don't forget tonight, in fact, if you would real quickly, if you plan on attending tonight and coming back for a meal and stuff, could you raise your hand for me real quickly? Well, all the rest of you are really going to miss it. So, all right. Thank you very much. Pastor Ray has one more announcement, and then he'll dismiss us when he's finished.
So what time are we meeting tonight?
5:30.
So what time did you say? 5:30? So we're meeting tonight at 5:30 Central Standard Daylight, no longer savings time, right? 5:30 tonight. You know, some of us will really appreciate this probably more than others, but earlier last year while I was speaking with Kelsey and Alex Bowl about dedication of their child Lydia, who, bless her heart, got sick the morning of, and that's still scheduled. I found out that our Kelsey Walden Bowl was working on a doctorate, and she'd been going not where I would go, but you know, especially since she was actually an LSU Golden Girl, I think they called it at the time, or whatever. But anyway, driving to the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, which as y'all know, that's where a lot of times we meet Liam, a little over halfway to Nashville. And that's a pretty good little drive to be going, working on her doctorate. And I'm so proud of her for doing that. She has a position at ULM. And I just have an announcement to make, and maybe I can get it straight on behalf of our proud parents here and a proud pastor and you as a proud church. But Friday we were praying because she was defending her dissertation. She passed, and she's going to be a doctorate. So we want to just be so happy for her. If you get a chance, you guys that do social media, you can let her know if that's acceptable. Is it? Okay. So it's not a secret. We're good. Okay. So anyway, but I thought it'd be neat to just share that with you, because I know for those of us that have been through that process of getting a doctorate, it's a big deal, and we got a couple more working on it, and we're so proud of you. So we honor Kelsey and you guys. That's really, that is a big deal. We're very, very proud of her as well. Plus, we've got a wedding coming up. The other daughter's getting married too, so Ansley, and I had the privilege to get to know her fiance. He is an awesome guy. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. So it's a great time. This time, let's stand and be dismissed. And don't forget to come tonight at 5:30. God bless you.